Hello, I'm Erin Marcus, founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business, and I want to welcome you to Ready Yet? If all you needed was a step-by-step plan of what to do, you could buy a book on how to succeed and you would be all set. But here's the rub. You'll never do what it takes until you become the person it takes to do it. The Ready Yet podcast is dedicated to those who are ready to become the person who succeeds, ready to become the person who steps into more, and ready to become the best version of themselves. In the I'm Ready interview series, join me for inspiring conversations with people who figured out who they needed to be in order to achieve their dreams and were brave enough to be that person. Welcome to this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. I'm back with Allison from the Conquer Your Business team to have another behind the curtain conversation of why we do what we do, how we got to where we're going, and where it is we're going from here. Right? All that good stuff. Kind of more than just the conversations that I have with my guests, but someone who knows me and works with me and how it is that we do what we do. Just to give you an increasing awareness and an increasingly deep level of understanding on the topic. So Allison picked up on something from a conversation I had with Tish Times, who was on the podcast, about what was expected of you and doing what's expected of you. And then at the same time, I recently had another conversation on another podcast where I was talking to somebody and we were talking about how if 5 years ago you looked ahead to where you are now, we would never have expected to be where we are. And it really got us thinking about expectations, kind of what we expected coming out of high school, coming out of college, what was expected of us, and how we have landed nowhere near any of those things. Right? I mean,
yeah.
Nowhere near any of those things. So why don't you give a little information, what does that mean to you, that whole what was expected of you and what you expected to have happen, say, from college?
I mean, well, growing up with my parents, they're in their field, and they were in that field from the day they graduated college till the day they retired. And I went to college thinking okay, that's what I'm going to do too. I graduated with a finance degree, got a job, worked with you for many years. But it was that expectation of sticking with it till the end really held me back for the longest time, as far as feeling I needed to change. But it was nope, you have that finance degree, you need to use it. Don't let that go to waste.
Right. I think that's really a good point, because now you're younger than I am, but you still grew up with you get a job, you keep the job, and you just keep the job.
Yep, absolutely.
When people younger than us were not brought up with that.
Right.
And so you do see them be more entrepreneurial and more mobile between businesses. It's so funny because I had almost the opposite experience, because I don't know that much, and this is going to sound so much worse than I mean it to. I don't know that much was expected of me.
Really?
Well, yeah, because I grew up with blue collar parents. So my dad was a cop. That was not expected of me. My mom, when I was little, was a hairdresser, which was so much fun for my brother and I, because every weekend we'd go to the salon and we would work there, which was a blast because there's fun things to play with at a hair salon when you're little, right?
Yes,
Especially the spinny chairs. So, and then when I was older, she was in apartment management. So I used the apartment management experience to get my first out of college job, because I was familiar with the industry, having grown up with my mom doing that. And as a single mom, she took us to a lot of stuff. So my parents were divorced, so my mom took us with her.
Yeah.
So I was familiar with that. Now I have a degree in journalism, but I don't know that there was a ton of my expectation, what was expected of me, was that I got a job and paid my own bills. And that was it. You do good at your job, you work,
Mhm.
and you just pay your bills. So I don't think I felt as stuck, but I also didn't have aspirations.
Ah.
I didn't have any aspirations beyond the little paycheck raise.
Did you ever deal with your parents, like my parents loved their jobs, but not always the corporate side of it. Like they loved, my parents are in the pharmaceutical industry, both of them. They loved the science behind it, but the day-to-day corporate stuff really got to them. And you know, I mean, my mother is kind of a Debbie Downer and I love her to pieces, but she's so negative, but I grew up with that. She's like hating and always complaining about her job, but it was like one day I'll retire and then I can do what I want and be happy. And for so many years I was like, all right, well that's what I got to do. I got to, put in my 30, 40 years and then retire and be
And you get to
happy.
be happy. Isn't that crazy that that's
Yeah.
the message that you picked up? And we talked last time how you stayed at your last corporate job much longer
Yeah.
than you probably should have because you had this story.
Mhm.
That's just how it worked.
That's what you did. Yeah. It's
Is it
crazy.
it didn't matter. And it is interesting the expectations because I think some of the expectations that happen aren't even on purpose.
Right.
They're not, there is a version of that where you have the parents who expect things from their kids. And then there's the stories we tell ourselves just by what we witness.
what
Just
we
by, yeah,
thought was what we thought was expected of us.
yeah.
Yeah.
I knew, yeah, like I said, I always knew I was expected to work. And it's not that it's not that my parents didn't think I was smart, but I've always done things that were so different from what I witnessed. I didn't have anyone I saw in a corporate type job. So I think there was just no mold for me to follow,
Mm.
which is good and bad. It doesn't hold you back, but it also doesn't provide, you're just going,
Yeah, you don't really know what's out there. You're just kind of flying blind a little bit.
right? You're just sticking with it and paying the bills and sticking with it and paying the bills.
Ugh.
What
My
about,
bro-
yeah, I was going to say your sibling. I mean, your brother has a freaking cool job.
That's so funny. Yeah. My brother is an engineer. He graduated, he's 3 years older than me, graduated from college, and he has been at the same company for now, God, almost 20 years.
But he
Same
also is
exact
an
job.
engineer in the amusement park industry.
Yes. Yeah. And he loves it, but I can tell there's like a twinkle in his eye about doing something else. Um, and I'm kind of like that little person on his shoulder, like, do it, do it. He loves his job, but I think he kind of wants to know what else is out there. And I'm like, do it.
And my family just kind of watches me. You can tell they want to be supportive, and you can also tell they have absolutely no frame of reference for what that even means.
Mm, yes. 100% in my family too. I'm the only one who's kind of like the ventured out. So I'm that voice that's like, yeah, you go do that risky thing. Go do it.
Go do your own version, your own version. So, I mean, what advice can we give people? I think number one is be aware. Be aware if you seem to be doing things because of somebody else's expectations or expectations that you've put on yourself from watching other people as opposed to what's coming from within.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that all happens with you can feel the difference. And I've been talking about this a lot lately. It feels different in your, the anxiety, it just feels different when you're on the right path versus when you're pushing yourself into a box that's
Yeah.
not your box.
Yeah, it's a mold that someone else made and you just don't fit into it, and it's frustrating, and yeah, it gives you
I used
anxiety.
to
It doesn't feel good.
I used to describe it, and I got away with more and more and more the longer I was at the insurance company and I was achieving and getting things done. So that comes with it a little bit of wiggle room. Um, but I always said to the way that we would dress there, I felt like I was shopping in someone else's closet.
Yes. I heard you say that and I was like, girl, same.
And I think that's an indication. I mean, those are just, if I would have, I don't know that I would have had an answer anytime soon, because especially with what I'm doing, I think one of the reasons I'm able to do what I'm doing is because of extensive experience in corporate as a small business owner with 15 employees, now as a solopreneur. So, and in even bigger corporate before the job that you and I worked at together, I don't know that I could do what I do now without having all those experiences.
Yep.
However, how different would things be had I listened to the voice sooner?
I think about that too. Yep.
And that, and you can't regret it
You
because
don't dwell on it, but you're curious. Piques
every
your
now and
interest.
then. Yeah, every now and then. So what advice would you give somebody? I'm always curious because like I say, we think so differently.
We do think differently. I think it's really analyzing like truly what people have told you, but then also what have you picked just, from growing up and seeing your parents or seeing other family, like what what have you told yourself about those situations? And yeah, I mean, you don't have to follow that.
Well, right. It's the personal responsibility. And I think a lot of people, you're worried you're going to disappoint somebody even if they're not the one with the expectations, or you're worried you won't follow the mold and so mom will be disappointed. But I think the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, all of those things keep people from acting on those little inclinations that they should be doing something else.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So one of the things I just talked to somebody about, I had a great conversation with a new client yesterday, and she's doing great. She's got a great job. She's got a husband, a house, a kid. So it's like, okay, so how come I'm not happy? It looks like I have everything. Why am I so unfulfilled? And you lose touch with what it was that you wanted because you play
Mhm.
the role for so long, you start to lose attachment, even awareness of what it was you wanted. So the advice I always give people is to just start doing something. Just
Yeah.
start doing something. Don't overthink it. Don't let it. This is not the only time you get to make the decision. You get to change things. You get to tweak things. Just start doing something that you enjoy, and you'll be amazed at what doors open up and how the plan just becomes clearer and clearer.
Yeah. I say something similar to my professional organizing clients. I say like our life is a constant edit. This one decision you make today about this item or this organizing plan, if it doesn't work, that's fine. You know, we'll do something else. Like it's not set in stone, it's an edit. We're constantly growing.
Yeah, I like that thought that it's an edit. It reminds me, I've been reading U Squared. I think I've honestly read it 3 times in the last 30 days.
I need to read it.
Well, it's a really short book, and the chapters are like a page and a half.
Oh,
So it's a great, like, read that right before I go to bed and think about just that page and a half. So it's amazing how for something so abbreviated and succinct, what I'm pulling out of there and what are the stories. And I've heard it before, but I love the way he puts it, that a rocket basically fails its way to the moon. That something like 95% of the time the rocket is off course. And which is horrifying, but
yeah.
right? It's like, huh. But it's a really big lesson because it's just about these little tweaks. I'm too far to the right, I'm too far to the left, or however north, the south, east, and west works when you're in space. I'm not sure how that translates, but I'm just a little off. it doesn't feel right. Okay, course correct. Oh, I'm a little off, course correct, instead of freaking out,
Yeah.
and that you
Yeah.
actually get your destination that way.
I love it. Yeah.
Aw- Well, good catching up and learning more about your thoughts and your experiences.
Yeah. No, I love our chats.
Hopefully this helps somebody to take a step, right? Just take the next step.
Do it. If you're hesitant, just picture my voice. Just do
I always say if I can do it, the beauty of my achievements is I am certainly not the secret sauce in those achievements. Like
it.
it didn't happen because it's me. It happened because what I did, which means someone else can do it too.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thanks again for spending time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Ready Yet podcast. I get so motivated by the amazing accomplishments of the remarkable people I meet, and I'm excited to be able to share some of their stories with you. You can find more episodes of Ready Yet at your favorite source for podcasts or at conqueryourbusiness.com. And if you've already decided that you are ready to become the person you need to be to achieve your big goals, feel free to reach out to find out how I can support you in your efforts. Or check out the Work with Erin page on the Conquer Your Business website. I also invite you to share this podcast with anyone you know who loves to learn and be inspired. And if you're so inclined, I'd be absolutely grateful for any reviews you'd like to share as well. Thanks again for joining me. This has been Erin Marcus, hopefully inspiring and helping you to go conquer your big dreams.